everyone, Gaijin Goombah here. Alright, Capcom, I literally just got done with my week's break. I'm working on my second channel to get ready for its launch, and I'm also working on my next D&D homebrew yokai race, the Kappa. But no, I had to toss all that aside because you had to go out and announce a brand new Monster Hunter, already enough for me to celebrate. But you just had to model the entire game, from location, to monsters, to characters, everything from folkloric feudal Japan. If this isn't a perfect storm game for my tastes and my brand, I don't know what is. Though, let's give credit where credit's due on this. Capcom isn't the first one to do this kind of game. You may recall some of my past videos and streams where there was another game that took the concepts of monster hunting and put it in a Japanese folklore intense scenario, Tokiden, a Koei Tecmo series that had you hunting giant oni and making armor out of their purified parts. And as I live and breathe, a lot of what I'm seeing showcased in Monster Hunter Rise feels like it came right out of Tokiden 2, which came out almost 4 years ago. Single open world devoid of airlocking loading screens where you can organically discover and hunt monsters? Tokiden did it. A brand new grappling hook mechanic that opens up the world in a huge 3-dimensional way? Tokiden did it. In fact, if I didn't know better, I'd say that a lot of the design of Kamura Village and the twins over here came right from Tokiden's base and character designs as well. Now, that isn't to say that I'm down on Monster Hunter Rise, far from it. I see two cakes in front of me and I'll happily inhale them both. And that's also not to say that Rise isn't doing its own unique things either. But regardless, I know a ton of you folks want my reaction to the limited footage we got from the direct of this game, and trust me, there's plenty. So get comfortable as I tear into every minute cultural detail that flooded my brain with dopamine hype. Alright, so the trailer starts out, we get a nice big pen, and alright, stop. Rewind. Yep, that's pampas grass. Known better in Japan as Suzuki. Yes, shut up, even the grass has cultural roots. Now, I know you guys have seen this long puffy tip grass before. It's in a ton of Japanese culturally inspired games, like the highly acclaimed Ghost of Tsushima, for example. But why is this plant so ever-present in these kinds of games? Well, aside from being an immediately recognizable autumn kigo, or seasonal word in haiku, go watch my last video for more info on that, it's also symbolic of one of Japan's most famous autumn events, Tsukimi, a festival born out of the Heian period where people would come together and recite poetry under the full moon, with big decorations of Suzuki grass and stylized plates of Tsukimi dango combined with sake as offerings for a good harvest. These days though, it's more of a casual festival to get together with friends and family, eat, drink, and enjoy the beauty of the moon. Yeah, I just got done spending a good couple minutes culture shocking about the grass in Rise, so strap in because it's only gonna get crazier. Speaking of the environment, there's also a pretty hefty showcase of the unnamed shrine ruins. Now, the grounds itself has a walled-off entrance with a large main building in the center of the estate, and a few other auxiliary buildings that dot the area. But there's also two twin-facing statues of canine appearance. I'm not gonna lie, this area reminds me a lot of Nezu Shrine in Tokyo. With the extensive walled-off entrance, that huge gate, and many of the main and auxiliary buildings taking a near-spitting image to the shrine ruins. But here's the really interesting thing. Nezu Shrine is an Inari shrine, which means 1, torii gates for days, as well as 2, a big emphasis on statues of Inari's foxes. Now, for a hot second, I thought these statues in-game were mirrored to that of similar Inari fox statues, making the allusion to Nezu Shrine nearly complete. But it's likely to actually be statues of another faithful canine, our brand new NPC buddy, the palamute. I think everyone who's ever played Okami collectively cacked their pants when they saw this rideable, battable doggo. I know I did. But culturally speaking, having this new companion being a wolf makes so much cultural sense. Wolves in Japan have an extensive history for being warders of evil and protectorates from harmful wild animals. In Honshu alone, there are over 20 shrines dedicated to a local guardian wolf, as they were seen as protectors from crop-ruining animals such as deer, wild boars, and I think possibly monkeys. Now, there are dozens of local myths and folklores about protectorate wolves, but these are a few of my favorites. Apparently in the Kii Peninsula, the great clan leader Fujiwara no Hidehara was apparently raised by wolves. In ancient times in the Kanto area, it was believed that wolf's milk would actually make infants grow inhumanly strong. And there's the Shishiyoke, who would protect villagers from wild boars and apparently had fangs that warded away evil spirits. But I think my absolute favorite is the tale of the Okuri Okame, or Okuri Inu, translated as sending off wolf or dog, a type of yokai, or kami, depending on who you ask, that would follow travelers of the forest in the middle of the night and keep harm away from them until the traveler reached their destination. So when you consider wolves in Japan were great protectorates that ward away dangerous wildlife, what could be better than loyal okami to help the hunter fight away dangerous monsters to keep their village safe? But hey, speaking of dangerous wildlife, we have 4 brand new monsters in Rise to cover. And yes, they are all based on yokai. Well, except for maybe one. The flagship monster, Magnamalo. Now, this monster doesn't resemble so much yokai as it symbolizes quite literally everything about samurai. First of all, look at that face. Terrifying, I know, but check out the forehead. That is a datemono hands down, a decorative crest that sat on the samurai's kabuto helmet. Then there's the creature's face that looks exactly like a samurai's min yoroi mask, a face protector that gave a samurai a horrifying visage, and in this case, it looks an awful lot like a Hanya demon, especially with those teeth. Now, going down the arms, the creature has 2 blade-like extensions coming out of its forearms, similar to that of katana blades. And finally, the most samurai thing about this creature is its tail, which is the spitting image of a Jumonji Yari, a 3-bladed cross spear. Because while folks like to think that the katana was the primary weapon of the samurai, it was actually the polearm that was the samurai's go-to melee weapon ever since the Kamakura period. Next we have Agnesam, a bird wyvern with a massive crest that changes shape in order to change its attack. Oh, and the thing apparently breathes fire. Now there's no doubt in my mind that this thing is a Basan, a Shikoku-based turkey-sized multicolored chicken yokai that breathes mystical fire. A fire so mystical, in fact, that it doesn't produce heat or combust material. But make no mistake, this thing will torch you in-game. Legends also say that Basan have amazing-looking plumage with a bright red crest that makes it stand out. And I don't know about you, but I think Agnesam's rocking some fabulous feathers of its own with an almost crown-like crest on its head to make it stand out. Then there's the Great Izuchi, and I don't care what anyone says, it's a bird wyvern sure, but come on guys, this thing is a Kame-itachi. But Gaijin, Kame-itachi are weasels. It's in the name for crying out loud. Okay, fine, but riddle me this. Aside from that, what else do we know about Kame-itachi? They're often depicted with having scythes for arms and or feet, and sometimes even tails, and they move like whirlwinds to quickly slice the legs of travelers in their mountain homes of Honshu. And what sort of characteristics do the Izuchi have? Scythe-like claws on its limbs, a giant scythe on its tail, and when it attacks, it does so by quickly spinning around and charging its target. How is this not a Kame-itachi? Lastly, we have the Tetranadon, a hippo-beaked turtle creature that it's a kappa. No, they're not even hiding it, guys. Look at that circular disheveled hair that dips down into its head and that little indention. Now look at traditional art of kappa. Same hair, same head, both are turtle-like with sharp-nailed claws, but the biggest connection between this big boy and kappa are its sumo tactics. The Tetranadon eats gravel to expand its body so it can slam into its opponents with its bulk, right? Isn't that exactly what sumo do? Train in flexibility and muscle development while also packing on tons of calories to give themselves a hefty bulk to overpower their opponents? And even those who are only generally familiar with kappa know good and well that sumo is a favorite pastime of this yokai, depicted in several folk stories and art pieces. But if you really need proof that the Tetranadon is a sumo fighting kappa, just watch how it turf wars with an Azuros. Slaps and throws, and admittedly tries to swallow him, but pretty much exactly how sumo fight. It's a kappa, folks. Prove me wrong. I guess while I'm yakking about design, I should mention the hunters. They're ninjas. That's it. It's the most obvious thing ever. I mean, look at the male armor. A kunai strap going down the chest, a blatant Hachigane headband, fishnet undergarments that are supposed to represent Shinobi Kusari under armor, Ashiko claws on the feet I assume for climbing, and to top it all off, he blue. It's pretty freaking obvious, though not as obvious as the female armor that has embroidered shurikens on her fishnets. Though I will say the chest piece is interestingly modeled after Kyudo archer armor, keeping the bow part of the body exposed for control while covering and protecting the rest of the upper body. I guess all that's left is Kamura Village itself, but come on, you've seen this stuff before, guys. The Ringo Ame candy apple stand and the Onigiri rice ball stands are, well, I just said what they are. There's also 2 palicos pounding mochi in front of a sakura painting backdrop with petals on the ground, which is an obvious reference to Mochitsuki, a New Year's celebration where households would pound a portion of their harvested rice into mochi cakes for offerings. But one of the coolest things that I saw in this architectural design of the village was, oddly enough, the roofs. Traditionally speaking, most Japanese buildings have roofs made of kawara clay tiles that give them their distinct shape, whereas in Monster Hunter Rise, pattern scales are used, which I thought was a nice touch considering the overall theme of Monster Hunter. I think it's safe to say that I'm freaking ecstatic for this game. A Japan-themed Monster Hunter playable on the go, but only time will tell what other amazing inspirations this game will take after medieval Japan. But you better believe I'll be all over it when it comes out in March. So, thanks for watching, everyone. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm hard at work on not only finishing up my new D&D homebrew yokai race, the Kappa, but I'm also hard at work on a brand new channel where I can be a bit more personal in my experiences with Japan. I'm working on getting a few videos ready for its debut, so I'll let you guys know when it happens. But until next time, everyone, this is Gaijin Goombah, signing out.